She stormed into my cabin like she owned the entire valley, screaming at me to get out of her house. What she didn't know was that the man sitting across from me, calmly sipping his coffee, was the state attorney general. And the moment he opened that folder on my table, the HOA's entire empire began to crack, just like the ice on the lake outside that was hiding their darkest secret. It all started a few months back when I thought I'd finally found peace. My name's Ethan Cole. After years of chaos in the city, I moved to a quiet valley community called Valley Springs. Picture perfect homes, clean driveways, neighbors who waved when they saw you. But behind those polite smiles, there was something rotten. The HOA here wasn't a group, it was a regime. And sitting on that throne was Karen Whitmore, a 50-something woman with a blonde bob and an ego that could power the entire valley's streetlights. She wore cream suits, carried a tablet like a weapon, and treated every lawn, mailbox, and tree like her personal property. At first, I tried to stay invisible. I paid the fees, nodded during meetings, ignored her little notes about unauthorized decorations. But when I found old property maps that didn't match the ones the HOA provided, my curiosity got the better of me. The more I looked, the worse it got. Missing deeds, fake signatures, and properties quietly transferred to community control. It wasn't just bureaucracy. It was theft, legalized under the HOA's name. So I gathered proof bit by bit and reached out to someone who could actually do something, the State Attorney General's office. Weeks later, he agreed to meet me at my cabin, a place I thought was safe. We sat by the fire that morning, sunlight spilling through the blinds. I poured 2 cups of coffee, trying to steady my hands. The man across from me was quiet, measured. He flipped through my folder of evidence, his brow furrowing. Then he looked up. "If this is real," he said, "your HOA isn't just corrupt, it's criminal." Before I could answer, the door exploded open. The sound shook the walls. "Get out of this house." That voice, sharp-cutting, familiar. Karen stormed in, heels pounding against the wooden floor, tablet in hand, like a judge about to sentence someone to death. Behind her were 2 police officers looking completely out of their depth. "You're trespassing," she snapped. "This cabin is on community land. You can't hold secret meetings here." The Attorney General stood slowly, calm as a storm about to hit. "And who," he asked, "gave you the authority to burst into a private state discussion?" Karen blinked, her confidence cracking for a second. "I represent the Valley HOA," she said tightly. "We control this property." He smiled faintly. "Interesting," he said, tapping the folder. "Because according to state records, this land has never belonged to your HOA." Her face turned pale, then red. She glared at me, jaw trembling. "You'll regret this," she hissed before storming out with her little entourage. But just before the door closed, I heard her outside talking on her phone. "We'll bury him under paperwork, just like the others." That line stuck in my head all night. Just like the others. How many others had there been? 3 days later, I got my answer. I woke up to a pounding at the door, hard, deliberate knocks. When I opened it, Karen was there again, smug as ever. This time, she'd brought reinforcements, 3 HOA inspectors in navy jackets, clipboards, and even a camera crew. "Good morning," she said sweetly, like she hadn't just broken into my home days ago. "We're here for a mandatory inspection. You're violating HOA Structure Code 14C, unauthorized meetings and illegal modifications to your property." I almost laughed. "You can't inspect state property," I said. She tilted her head. "We can inspect whatever we want until someone stops us." The inspectors spread out, taking photos of everything: the walls, the windows, even the Attorney General's briefcase still on my table. My pulse was hammering. I told them to delete the photos. Karen crossed her arms. "Touch one of my people," she said, "and I'll have you arrested for obstruction." That's when I realized this wasn't about an inspection. It was intimidation. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and pointed it right at her. "Who ordered this, Karen?" I asked. For a moment she froze. Then she smirked. "You'll find out soon enough." "Not soon enough," I shot back, "because this video's going to the Attorney General." Her mask slipped for just a second. "You think your little friend in the state office can protect you? The HOA owns this valley." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You have no idea what's under this land." Then she left. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat by the fire staring at the shadows on the wall, thinking about what she said. What's under this land? Around midnight I stepped outside. The air was cold, thick with fog. The lake behind my cabin shimmered in the moonlight, still silent. But then for a split second I saw something below the surface, a faint glowing light moving slow and deep. My stomach dropped. The next morning, Officer Ray, the same cop who'd been there during the first confrontation, found me by the lake. His face was pale. "Something strange happened last night," he said quietly. "The HOA sent divers into the lake. No one knows why. Karen told everyone to keep quiet, and she made me delete my body cam footage." I felt my chest tighten. "Divers," he nodded. "Yeah, something's down there. I called the Attorney General right away." "They're digging," I told him. "In the lake. They're hiding something." He was silent for a moment, then said, "I'm sending a team. Whatever's under there, it's not supposed to exist." By the time they arrived, the HOA had already blocked off the area with barriers and signs that read, "Private community property, no entry." Karen stood in front of them, arms folded, lips curled in that smug little smile. "Private community business," she said. "State interference is not welcome." The Attorney General didn't blink. "You're done hiding behind community rules," he said. "This is now a state investigation." People began to gather, neighbors, reporters, even kids with phones. The tension was electric. Then the divers entered the lake, breaking the surface with a splash. Minutes passed. Then one of them shouted from below, his voice a mix of shock and fear. "Sir, there's a structure down here. A whole cabin." Karen's face went ghost white. The crowd started buzzing, recording everything. The divers came up holding a half-rotted wooden sign. The Attorney General brushed away the mud. Faded letters appeared. "Property of Martha Dale, 1983. The name hit like thunder. Martha Dale, the woman who'd disappeared 40 years ago after accusing the HOA of stealing her land. Karen backed away, shaking her head. No, that's impossible." But the look in her eyes said it all. She'd known. The Attorney General's voice cut through the chaos. "Under your leadership," he said this, "HOA continued the same crime, stealing, forging, burying evidence, even drowning the proof beneath a lake." Karen started crying, real tears now, not the crocodile kind. "You don't understand," she whispered. "They told me to do it. The board, the real board. They said it was for the good of the community." He stepped closer. "Then maybe you should tell us who they are." And that's when she snapped. "You'll never find them," she screamed, thrashing against the officers who grabbed her. "They own everything in this valley. You think you can stop them? The lake isn't the only thing hiding their crimes." Her voice echoed across the water as they dragged her away, echoing in the fog like a curse. The police lights reflected on the rippling surface, red and blue, dancing across the mist. The divers kept working, pulling up fragments of walls, furniture, and finally a rusted metal lockbox, initials carved into it. MD. The Attorney General pried it open. Inside were documents, property deeds, bank transfers, letters, all proof that the HOA had paid off officials' falsified records and flooded Martha Dale's land to erase her claim. I stood there watching the sun break through the clouds, the lake glittering gold as if it were finally free. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the Attorney General put his hand on my shoulder. "They might own the valley," he said softly, "but they don't own the truth." I nodded, staring at the calm water that had once buried a home and nearly buried justice with it. Karen's words still echoed in my head. "They own everything." Maybe they did once, but not anymore. Because the lake remembered, and so do I. Some people think power comes from control, but real power comes from truth, and truth always floats back to the surface.